He might be the best point guard of our generation. Chris Paul is at least top 2 with these people. All right, y'all, welcome to Dunk Bait, where we talk mostly basketball, you feel me? Today we're gonna do start 1, bench 1, cut 2 with a interesting group of players. Paul Pierce was, seemed a little salty, you feel me? And Josiah, he had something special about Elgin Baylor, so let's go.
I kind of had the thought of I wonder who Twitter would vote as the prettiest passer. I just decided I'm gonna take Magic out of the equation. I'm gonna just go with these very specific point guards: Kidd, Nash, Stockton, CP3. Start 1, bench 1, cut 2. What was your guys' thoughts, and who would you start, who would you sit, who would you cut?
My first thoughts, bro, were the hate for Chris Paul is clouding people's actual minds. Like, bro, he might be the best point guard of our generation. Chris Paul is at least top 2 with these people. As good as Nash was, and he won 2 MVPs, he's probably the worst of these 4. And that's not him, because that's how good these 4 players are. But I would say the best 2 I would go with, maybe Stockton and Chris Paul. Basketball isn't this simple, but it also is. Chris Paul could guard everybody, and none of them could guard Chris Paul. Maybe Kidd. Nobody else.
This is an unfortunate situation. I don't really like when we do these things because somebody's always getting cut, and it's like, no, dude, they deserve a bag. For me, look, I'm an old head, and I know I like to claim that the 90s were watered down, but I'm still rocking with J. Kidd. He could do a little bit of everything. I think Nash is interesting because obviously he was rocking with D'Antoni, winning them MVPs. CP3 was literally, one Lakers trade away from, he'd have rings, he'd have a lot more praise and stuff, because John Stockton looks like, an average, square, regular, everyday dude.
I go look at Chris Paul's defensive record, and it's like, he's like 5
or 10?
Yeah,
all defense. Teams?
And, oh my God, he should get more love, and mine were start Nash and CP off the bench.
Start 1, I'm gonna go with J. Kidd just because that's my era. Bench 1, I'm gonna go CP3, and then unfortunately, sorry, I'm gonna have to cut Stockton and Steve Nash.
Good job, Schwartz.
Appreciate it.
Way to create content when during the pandemic. Paul Pierce dropped his top 5 players. I mean, this is the thing with me. With this whole conversation, dog, it turns, the troll is the person that gets the most attention. I can't on anybody on this list, but Bron belongs in the top 5, and there's no question about it.
I mean, it's unfortunate to see the bitterness that Paul Pierce had. Obviously, he's from LA, he's from Inglewood. But if you know anything about Inglewood, Inglewood is the home of champions, but it's also the home of cap, all right? There's a lot of cap in Inglewood. And several people pointed out on the internet after that, even Paul Pierce's own teammate, Kendrick Perkins, who literally had to have a heart-to-heart with him and just be like, yo, dog, you remember how we were in those locker rooms talking about having to deal with LeBron? And I think, it becomes a thing where it's PTSD when you got a guy that just consistently gives you buckets year after year after year after year. Give me a break, bro. I think LeBron's on everybody's top 5 who understands basketball. And I think this is just more, Paul trying to get some clickbait. Look, I'm a king of trolling, so I understand when I want to troll, I'll say some stuff like this too. Yeah. He was smart going with Bill Russell, kind of playing the Celtics game.
And I said this on the Dunk Bait handle. I said it on my personal Twitter account. Paul Pierce himself during a game. Why should I listen to him? He pants and needed a wheelchair to leave the arena to mop that mess up, and you're gonna tell me who's top 5? No, thank you, sir.
You can keep all your opinions to yourself, buddy.
Obviously, today is Memorial Day, so we remember the men and women of our armed forces. But one player who doesn't get a lot of love as it is already, he was serving on the court and he was serving his country. Elgin Baylor may be an afterthought in Lakers lore, but without him, the greatest franchise of all time would be ancient history. So put some respect on his game. The 6'5" small forward out of Chocolate City was a high-flying showman with more hang time than Superman Brodus. A defense-splitting, jumper-hitting, bucket-getting machine, Baylor's bag included a mix of runners, floaters, hezzies, and reverses that were too advanced for his era, leading to 10 first-team All-NBA selections and more than 23,000 points in his 14 seasons. The Minneapolis Lakers scooped up Baylor with the top pick in the '58 draft. Long before they were Showtime, the Lakers were closer to no time, in need of a savior to keep the franchise afloat. Baylor embraced the challenge, winning Rookie of the Year in '59, finishing top 10 in points, rebounds, and assists. The Lakers went from mildew to barbecue, reaching the finals for the first of 8 times during his career. More importantly, the team avoided bankruptcy, moving to Los Angeles the following year. An Army reservist, Baylor got called into active duty during the 61-62 season. Stationed at Fort Lewis in Washington, he was only allowed to play on weekends, but made the most of it, averaging 38, 19, and 5 that season and dropping 61 points in Game 5 of the finals, which is still a record. Baylor's Lakers could never get past a juggernaut down in Beantown. Bill Russell and the Celtics beat him in the finals 7 times, including 3 Game 7s. With the latter part of his career marred by injuries, Baylor retired 9 games into the 72 season. The decision proved regrettable, as the Lakers won a chip that year. Baylor's 27.4 points per game for his career still ranks 3rd in NBA history, and his game inspired the likes of Dr. J, Magic, and even Kobe, who added several of Baylor's moves to his own arsenal. While many assume the Euro step originated in the other land, that, as the kids say, is major cap. Baylor was doing it in the 60s, so we should call it the Elgin step if we keeping it a $1.05. Baylor was so big in his heyday that parents were so anxious to name their kid after him. Just ask fellow DC native Genuine, whose real name is Elgin Baylor Lumpkin. After his playing career ended, Baylor transitioned from coaching to the front office, becoming the first black GM in NBA history, with the dumpster fire that was Donald Sterling's Clippers. However, Baylor was named Executive of the Year in 2006. In 2018, Elgin Baylor was immortalized with the Lakers elite, receiving his very own statue in the Staples Center courtyard, a well-deserved honor for one of the greatest players in NBA history.
I didn't know his story was that interesting. I mean, I knew he was a great basketball player, but
He just doesn't get a lot of respect and love, which is sad because he's a Laker, but I think also because he's a Laker and he's, you rattle off all those names, Elgin Baylor may not be one of those that comes first to mind, but he definitely was out here getting buckets and was well ahead of his era and his time for the skill set he had.
that's Dunk Bait. I'm the Jethro Jenkins.
King Josiah 54.
I'm Zach Schwartz. Thanks to everyone who serves.